Are you ready for me?
I'm ready when you are.
I'm never ready for the beginning.
I know
I don't
it's
know
so
why.
jarring. You're gonna see that this is the best part right here, Dan.
And it's just like the easiest part of the whole thing.
It's
All
just
right.
it's getting it started. That's the hard part.
Yeah. And I don't know why it always is
It's like
nerve wracking to
starting
me.
an old pull mower. Takes a few to get it going, but once it's going, it works.
Because I am old. All right. Ready?
You're only a few years older than me, and I am delightfully young.
That you are.
No comment.
All right. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bet Free Life. I'm Christina and my blah, 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 blah.
Without fail.
I thought I had it that time. I thought I had it. Okay.
We really once we get past the opening phrase, we're good to go. But it's this opening part that's always hard.
Yeah. I keep saying maybe Brian needs to do it. It probably just goes so much smoother. But then what's the fun in that,
People
right?
would be lost. Like, what?
All right, here we go.
Warning, this show may be triggering for anybody experiencing gambling-related harm. Please watch cautiously. We speak from our experiences only. Please seek professional help for a gambling addiction.
Hi, everyone. This is the Bet Free Life. I'm Christina, and I last placed a bet March 2021.
And I'm Brian, and I last placed a bet in July of 2014. And oh, have we got a guest today, Christina?
We do.
Lived experience, somebody who came on to share their story, talk about being inpatient and what that was like, and also dealt with a relapse. And I dealt with a relapse. I know, Christina, you have not, and God bless you for it. They're not fun, but we get through them, and that's what we're going to talk about. Dan is here. Dan, welcome to the Bet Free Life. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, Christina.
Hi there.
Dan, would you share with everybody your day of your last bet, or however you track your gambling?
Sure. The day of my last bet was March 3rd of 2022. I've got I think today is day 15.
Excellent. Good for you. And I want people to know that you were originally, what was going to happen was you were going to come on here and do the same thing. And between the time we talked about you coming on and now, you did suffer a relapse, but you wanted to come on anyways to talk about that. And I applaud you for that. And we really appreciate it, because it's going to help a great deal of people learning about relapses from somebody who just went through one. So thank you for that.
Oh, sure. Well, I just think it's important. I was talking with my therapist, and and she's dealt with a lot of addicts over her career, and she said basically relapse is a part of recovery. You just it's going to happen for most people. The people are rare that don't have a relapse, and so that the key is just getting back on the horse, as you say, as quickly as possible, and just stopping. And so I just thought it was important that I come on and not run away because of my relapse. There's a certain degree of shame involved. I'll be honest about that, but I know I'm not the only one. I know there are others out there who may be struggling with a potential relapse. They're in the middle of their relapse or just recently overcame them, like myself. But in whatever case, hopefully something I can say can be of help to someone. And that's why we do this sort of stuff,
Yeah. And I appreciate just the fact that by doing this, you're showing others that it's okay to come back after, having so many days bet free, and come in and say, hey, this happened, let's work through it together. Let's move forward. I didn't technically have a relapse, because what I did was at the beginning of 2021, I just said, I'm not gambling, but I didn't know anything about recovery. I didn't know anything about GA. I didn't know anything about help. And I didn't understand how important connection is in recovery. So I made it about 55 days. And then I did gamble again. And I chased my losses for about a week. And during that week, I felt like I had this episode of like mania. Like it was completely an out of body experience. And, it finally brought me to my personal rock bottom. And that's when I let somebody else into my problem, my addiction. And that's when I started true recovery for myself. And I have not slipped since I started that journey. When you did experience this slip, was it similar to that? Was it, what were the kind of the thoughts that led up to that?
Sure. I had just celebrated 6 months of abstinence 2 days before. It was the end of February. I was broke, as I often am. And I got something in the mail from one of the casinos, and it said, "Hey, we missed you. We've got $250 waiting for you. Come on back." Because I was an online slots player. That was my demon. And I was broke, and I thought, hey, I can do this, and it's their money. What could happen? And within a couple of hours, it was not their money anymore. It was my money. And one of the worst things that happens to me is I won. I won. I turned a couple of $100s into several $1,000s, and tried to get out. And it all went back in, as we know how these stories end, plus another 1,000. And those same feelings of being out of control were what were driving the binge. And that was what sent me to recovery, into rehab in the first place, is just the fear of being so out of control and not being able to stop, even though I wanted to. And that was very similar all over again. I was engulfed in that. What had taken, maybe years to find a level, I was immediately back there. And it was as powerful as ever.
When did you start gambling?
As a child, really. The under over, I remember they used to have a fair that came through town every summer for 5 days or something, and with all the little gambling booths, and you threw things, and one of them was dice, and you threw the dice, and it was either a 7 or under or over, and if you put down a quarter, you got a quarter back. And they let us play, and I was probably 8 years old or 10 years old. I mean, and pitching quarters or pennies when we were kids against the sidewalk, that sort of thing. But fast forward to adulthood, we used to have these illegal joker poker machines in New York in the bars, and they paid. It was completely illegal. It was all a mobbed up sort of thing, but and I used to play that, and there were times there where I would spend a night's pay playing this stupid game with the hope of a payout. And that was the first hint that I had a problem, when I would walk out of there after bartending all night, getting over $100 in tips, but no money in my pocket on the way out. That was my first hint I might have a problem. Few years later, maybe 10 years later, or no, 20 years later, really, the New Jersey goes legal for online betting, and that was where my real problem started. That's where I said, "Oh shoot, I need to get help."
What kind of device was that on that you were using? Were you using like a computer?
My laptop.
Phone? Your laptop?
My laptop or my phone. I'd be sitting in the doctor's office waiting in the waiting room, gambling. There was no time that was inconvenient, no time or place where I couldn't access the casino. Yeah, it's really insidious, the online stuff. I don't have to get in my car and drive 2 hours to Atlantic City anymore, which would stop me. But fortunately, the one thing I didn't do when I got out of rehab, and I was told to do it, and I started it, and they make it so hard that I got frustrated and quit halfway through. But I've banned myself from all online gambling establishments in the state of New Jersey. You can go in and have yourself banned, as you probably know. And I did that, and that has given me a great feeling of security. The white knuckle feeling like, oh God, the computer's right there, the web page is a click away, has gone away, because I know they won't honor my business anymore. And so that's been a big help.
Dan, I'm a sucker for details. Could you talk about that process and how you were able to self-exclude and what you had to do?
Yeah, it's a little blurry because it was in that binge, right at the end of that binge, but it's a series. As I'm trying to remember what, I don't want to advertise for the particular casino that I frequented, sure. But there was a responsible gambling button in the corner, where if you seemed you were having some kind of a gambling problem, you could touch that, and then there were a series of prompts where you could go through it, but you have to. There's just a lot of steps to it, and it's kind of a
ain't easy, huh?
They don't make it easy. Imagine that. They make it rather a burden to, it's not one click. It's not like unsubscribing from an email, that's for sure. It was enough that I walked away with my head shaking, like, the first time when I tried to do it when I first got out of rehab, and meant to go back and finish it and never did. And then that was the crack in the door that I went back through.
Yeah, they don't make yeah, very good analogy. Leaving they don't make it easy even in the lane casinos. A lot of them can make it really, really difficult. And like we just discussed on this last episode, is when I went to self-exclude at one up the hill from me, they gave me a week to change my mind. Yes. And it's just like, it's extremely frustrating, but I think this is a good time to kind of have a conversation about our sponsor, which is Gamban. And have you used a product like that before?
No, I was told about Gamban and told it was worth the investment, and I failed to act on that. I still plan to, actually.
It is. I'm just going to sound like such an ad now. It is low cost. That is for sure. It's a nice investment to create friction for yourself, to give you another tool in your toolbox to block online gambling. It's a great tool for that. And the people at Gamban are just the best. And so that's why Christina and I enjoy having them as a sponsor, because it's about the people behind the product. The product is great, but if it was sold by a bunch of people who didn't have core beliefs, we wouldn't have them as a sponsor. But these are good cool individuals at Gamban. So we love having them aboard.
And that's, is that worldwide or nationwide?
Worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah. So that's, because that's the thing now. I'm going to Detroit in a month or two. Oh. And I don't know what the gambling status is there. I could go and get myself in trouble over there or whatever. So don't
get yourself in trouble there.
No, I'm just saying, like right now I'm only banned from New Jersey. So Gamban is, I'm a future customer. Let's put it that way. Probably in about a half hour.
Yeah. And what you can do is you download it to all your devices. So no matter where you go, your devices block out all those sites. And it's not that I'm trying to do an advertisement for Gamban. It's just that we believe in their product so much, exactly for that reason. Is it's on your devices. It gives you that buffer or that block, and it closes that gap or that crack or whatever's left open that keeps your brain thinking, there's this possibility here, and so it really is just about being another block, another barrier, another tool in the toolbox. And so, if you just download it to all your devices, it will absolutely not allow you to, no matter what state you're in or country. So,
yeah, that's what I need. And I wouldn't feel bad about promoting it, because there's a lot of folks out there who need it. And if you're someone like me who struggles with self-control, every tool is helpful.
Dan, can you take us back to the 6 months ago? What led to your decision to stop gambling and your decision to enter into an inpatient facility?
Sure. I had an on again, off again problem with gambling, had been to meetings and then had a relapse, and I was just trying to manage it as we try to do sometimes. And late last summer in August, it just started to get away from me. I was playing more often. I'm off from work at that time. I have a lot of free time in my hands. And before I know it, I was gambling away paychecks before they hit the bank. And when I did that for the not first time, I just broke down. I was the thought that was going through my mind was suicide. I wanted very much to kill myself. I was so angry with myself and so just despondent. And I knew the financial mess I'd created for myself, and I just couldn't see any way out. But I didn't want to die. I mean, deep in my heart, I didn't want that. And I called some places for rehab. I just reached out. I knew I needed help, and I was turned away from a couple of places because I'm a long-term opiate user. I have a medical condition that I've been on them for like 15 years, and they didn't want someone I'm an addict technically to that stuff, just to get out of bed in the morning, but they didn't want someone using those substances in a rehab facility, and I understood that. And I found a place that was, I don't know if I'm allowed to or should
It's your
not.
experience. You can say whatever you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I found Algamus in Arizona, and I called them, and Rick, the owner, is the guy who answers the phone, obviously, the founder of the company. And he talked to me and listened to me and was just so helpful and said, this is a unique situation. I don't know that we've had this before, and let me talk to my doctors and the the staff and so forth. And thank God they accepted me into it. And I'm blessed that I have good insurance, which covered, it's not cheap. And I was really blessed to have good insurance, which covered most of it. And I went away for 35 days to Arizona. I flew out there. I got help from friends to pay airfare and things like that. The doors just, like, everything just fell into place. Once I made the commitment that I wanted to do this, the resources, everything I need, people were behind me. And the next thing I know, I'm in Arizona, in the mountains, and that's a whole nother story. I don't know if you want me to go on from there or not, but
well, I'd like to say how impressive it is. Did you have anybody else in your life that was urging you to go get help?
No.
That's why I think that's impressive.
No, other than my therapist was, but I'm not married or anything like that. I don't have kids, so there wasn't this feeling like I was hurting anybody but myself, really.
But to know that you've done that much harm to where you were reaching out for help for yourself to go to an inpatient, not just, I'm going to stop on my own, I'll be fine. You took it to that level where you went inpatient, and I commend you for that. That's really impressive to do on your own.
Thanks. I think that's a reflection of my desperation more than anything. I was desperate. I couldn't do it alone. I was that feeling of being out of control. I keep saying was so frightening. It was like being in a speeding car and the brakes and the steering don't work. I couldn't stop.
We've heard that analogy before. I made a face because we have a video on it, actually. That
very much so.
Yeah.
I have to check more of your videos.
Yeah, as soon as you said that,
or maybe that's where I got it from. I don't know. He stole it from.
It's in there.
Yes.
Can I ask you what your experience was like at an inpatient treatment? Like, what kind of your day-to-day experience was like?
Sure. It was great for me. First of all, it's so rare in life that you get a chance to just turn off your life.
Yeah.
The phone, the bills, because they take your phone and all that stuff, the computer, all that stuff goes away, and you're just left with yourself, and which is a good thing. And there were I was in a group situation, so there were shared dormitory kind of rooms. You had shared bedrooms and stuff. And so I got up every morning. I made my bed, which I rarely do at home, to be honest. And puttered around. I used to watch videos in the morning around the house. We had TVs, and I used to like to watch recovery videos. Gabor Mate, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he's a wonderful addiction specialist, and I would just watch his videos for hours in the morning, do my affirmations, all that stuff. On a good day, maybe get a little exercise, and then we would go off because you didn't get treatment and in the same facility where you slept. We slept in a beautiful house up in the mountains, and then they drive us into town every morning, and we'd have a morning group, which was with like the lead therapist, and then we'd have an afternoon group, sometimes with occasionally with substance abuse recovery people. Most of the time, just the gambling addicts, but sometimes they would mix us up, and that was always enlightening. That was a really good experience for me. And we'd do various therapy, and then we'd have outings a couple of times a week where we would just go out in the park and practice mindfulness or play some volleyball and that kind of stuff. And then at night we come home. It was dinner. We'd have a couple of group dinners where we all sort of chipped in and worked and put together some dinner. And then other nights it was just, catch as catch can. You make your own dinner and microwave something or whatever you want to do. That was my go-to. But and get up the next day and do it all over again. We go to a meeting 4 times a week virtually, and then once a week in person. We were in Prescott, Arizona, and that in-person meeting also has a Zoom component, and so I like to still go to that meeting even though I can't be there in person, which is a nice tie back to the folks in recovery that have followed me. And until I relapsed, I felt like, hey, this is where you're headed, folks. You're going to be out of there in a couple of weeks, and welcome to recovery on the outside world, outside of the bubble. So I thought it was nice to go back and visit with those folks, but I haven't since I relapsed. But I'm going to go back tomorrow and fess up, because it's what you have to do. It's done. It can't be changed. Shame isn't going to help anything. It's an addiction. You just got to get back to it. Get back to getting better.
Damn right.
That's right.
Dan, Christina pointed out a very good thing, and it works in your favor. New Jersey offers Gamban for free if you contact the Council on Compulsive Gambling of New Jersey. They will give you Gamban for you got to talk to them. Which is, do you know the number, Dan?
No.
It's 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, I do know it then. It's on every commercial.
I figured you did. Call them and ask them about their Gamban.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good job, Christina.
Yeah, because the advertisements are just out of control. I don't know, that's maybe a topic for another show, but that's one of the toughest triggers that I experience because I like sports. So I'll have the NFL channel on or a sports channel or something. And it's all about betting now. It's they have shows devoted to the odds, just whole television shows on the sports channels.
Well, and it was an advertisement that triggered your relapse. Right? It was
yes,
a mailer advertisement.
A mailer, yeah, that I almost threw away without looking at. But
I get it, man.
Things happen.
You see free money, and you've been gambling, so you probably don't have the money, and so you see free money, and you think,
right?
Well, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just using the money that is there. Did you have that moment in your relapse after you won where you put some of the money away? Like, I'm not going to touch this part of it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. You're speaking my language.
I took out all of it, really. And the next day went back and started putting it back in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I use PayPal, and they wait a period before they take the money from my bank account. So they let me keep spending money long after my bank account was empty, to the tune of $1,000 or so.
Oh,
So
PayPal is connected to your online gambling account, and that's how you fund it?
Yes.
Huh.
Interesting. I didn't even know that. Now PayPal is on my radar. Like they are on my radar now. So
Yep, that's one of your payment options.
And the fact that you could keep spending even though your account was empty at that point.
Yeah. 2 days later, I'm $1,000 in the red, and it was all gaming.
And they sent you a bill, said, hey.
They sent me some letters and a lot of insufficient funds fees.
Oh, they issue those? I remember getting those from the bank when I could over withdraw my bank account in the same manner.
Yeah, for every 100 I took out, I got another one.
Unbelievable.
And I was taking out 100 every 5 minutes or something, so.
You should tell them that you had a gambling addiction. That's why you went negative, and see if they'll grant you some.
Yeah, my bank is actually very cool. If I weren't kind of embarrassed to face the folks down on Main Street at the bank, sure. I might ask, if I called corporate, they might work with me. I don't know. Might be worth a try.
It's hard, I'm sure. I remember those days.
Yeah.
You kind of almost got into this, but the transition from leaving inpatient and Alchemist to all of a sudden you're back in the world. Were you able to dip your toes in the water before jumping in, or you're just back in the world again?
Just back in the world. And I don't think I did everything I could have or should have or was advised to do, like Gamban, that might have prevented that relapse. I've worked hard to work on myself and go to meetings and all of that stuff. But there's other things that, that I didn't do, like the Gamban. And before you know it, you're kind of back into your old living habits, and you're back on the computer and you're back on the phone, and that solitary life of being in what we called the bubble when you were in rehab is hard to reestablish in the outside world. It's I have to make time to silence the outside world, to turn off the television, the phone, the computer, and just meditate a little bit. That sort of thing is helpful, but tough to do. And I'd be lying if I said I did that as much as I would like to, as much as I could. But it's you kind of have to. At least I have to make those moments of serenity, whether it's in nature or in my own head, in music. I'm a musician as well, and that sort of stuff. So, all of that joyful stuff is an important part of my recovery, I think. The joy I get from nature and from music and solitude to some degree, just that turning off the world.
Yeah, very much so. I think
it's a weird dynamic. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need solitude, but I also need the social connectedness, the fellowship. So it's finding that balance that's tough. But I'm sorry.
Fellowshipping right now.
Yeah, we are just talking about it. 3 gamblers, ex-gamblers talking about it. That's very much fellowship. And I think when you say that dynamic of needing, to be by yourself and the social at the same time, I think myself and Brian can both agree that when we were gambling, that's exactly what we got. You got to be social, but you didn't have to be social. So I think, in recovery, trying to find the balance of that is very important. So it's very interesting that you say that. But I want to say too, on something you said earlier about going back to your meeting. I think for me, going back to the meeting and saying, hey, this is where I'm at, and I just appreciate being here, I think will really kind of help move you forward. kind of helps work through that feeling of shame, even though nobody there is going to feel the shame for you. Like it's
Right.
kind of like they're just going to be happy you're back and talking to them. But another thing I wanted to touch on was whenever I'm of the opinion that sometimes, there's a lot of controversy in this community. A lot of people are very opinionated on what recovery should look like, but I'm just of the opinion in recovery is your recovery, and it should look like what it is to you and what benefits you in the capacity that you heal, you grow, you move forward, and that you don't gamble. And sometimes relapses are very much a part of that. And they show up in a way to show us what we need to fix, what we need to like plug the hole, or kind of how we keep building, our recovery. And I think sometimes people will just go into it blindly thinking they only have to do a certain amount of things and everything's going to be okay. But sometimes you need that reminder that, hey, I'm not really paying attention to this, or I'm not really paying attention to that. And of course, I don't say they're okay. I just say sometimes it's just part of our journey. So
there's more to recovery than stopping gambling as well.
Very much so. I think stopping gambling is sometimes the easier part. It's the recovery that's the hard part, is working through those emotions, being with yourself and being comfortable with yourself. Sometimes
those defects of character, that we talk about, those flaws that we're trying to fix, and that's hard work. That's the business of recovery. It's not gambling is relatively easy, like you say.
Yeah. So when you were in the midst of gambling, and you say you have passions of music, you're a musician. How did that contradict each other? Did you find yourself not picking up your instruments, not focusing on the things that you love? And then how is it feeling now that you're in recovery? Like, are you seeing a difference in your passion?
Yes. Yes to your first question. I did play my instrument less. Music, to me, music has become about sharing, and you're giving something. And gambling was about taking. Gambling was all about me. It was about being greedy and selfish. So it was a much more solitary act for me. I wasn't going to a casino. I was sitting at my, laptop at 3 a.m. But the music, it's funny. Once I got out of, when I told some folks that I was going to rehab, and when I got out and told folks where I'd been, the support was so overwhelming in the music community. And everybody was so just supportive and great. And I just felt liberated from that pain. And, I'm fortunate that I have a really cool music community that I, am a part of. And just great people, just giving, loving, sharing people, generous people, and, with their time and their spirit and their, so yeah, it's recovery has made, and the other thing that really gambling hurt was not spending money on recording. Because recording costs money, and that's where I like to spend my money. And I wasn't spending it in the recording studio. I was spending it in the casino. And it was so nice. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, Wednesday, I got my my tax return, and I went to the recording studio, with my money rather than to the casino. And that was, wow, night and day, like the difference between going to hell and heaven for me, that, and so that's what recovery gives me, that gambling took away from me. Really, I can't even say it didn't give me anything. It took away. And I didn't like the person who gambled. He didn't care about other people as much as I do. But that guy who used to gamble, he was more selfish than I want to be.
Dan, we're getting close to the end here, but I gotta ask you, what instruments do you play and what kind of music do you play?
Oh, I play the guitar and sing, and I dabble with some other instruments, but nothing I would do in public. Um, I write music. Mostly, I'm a songwriter more than a musician. I have a CD out, and I'm in the process of making another one. Although it may not be a CD anymore because they've gone the way of 8 tracks, but I'm still using that terminology. But a new album coming out. Probably by the end of the year. I've just started recording it, and I'm really excited about that. I don't know what I would call it. I have kind of eclectic tastes, but it's blues based. I would say that much.
Cool.
It's kind of like pretty easy rock and roll, but it's blues based. And it's folky sometimes and funky sometimes. I have a lot of different tastes, and that all comes through in my music. So it's pretty eclectic.
That's awesome. That's great. And I'm sure that you can, is it easier to write a song if you're happy, or is it easier to write a song if you're struggling?
I think most of us are driven to write more when we're struggling, to try to deal with those negative emotions in a positive way. Heartbreak is the number one motivator for songwriting. You get your heart broken, you write a song about it. But I find that songwriting it's like catching the wind. You work at it, and then all of a sudden this breeze blows by, and you get this idea that's perfect, and it all works, and it's magical. It's like the song exists, and it's just waiting for me to tap into it or something. The ones I work don't always amount to anything. It's the ones that just pop into your head, all finished, that are the gems. But you have to be doing the work for those gems to hit you. If you miss the gems if you're not doing the work. So it's you have to be there. It's like school. 80% of it may be terribly boring, and you may not want to go, but you're going to miss that 20% that could change your life. Or that 10% or whatever it is. If you're not there, you don't know what you missed. So if I'm there, present to the muses, to the universe, it comes in, not as often as I'd like, and not as financially lucrative as I'd like, but I don't do it for money. I just do it for the joy of it and the fun of making people smile, and that's the real happiness of life, not a jackpot.
Do you get the opportunity to play live in places?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go play in about an hour.
Oh, fantastic. I love live music.
Yeah.
I'd sit and watch you jam.
Oh, me too.
It's fun. I usually play by myself, but sometimes I get to sit in with other guys, and I think that's what I'm going to be doing tonight, which will be fun. And I'm putting together this kind of all-star band to record my next album, and that's super fun because I've got all these great guys who are just great musicians and who will work for next to nothing. Put some gas in their tank and they're happy.
That sounds incredible. Like that.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm part of a really cool community that makes recovery and life itself joyous. It's good. Life is good when you get out of the casino.
Life is good when you're jamming.
Yeah, definitely. That's the best.
I think that's a good positive message to go out on. What do you say, Christina?
Oh, it sounds great. It sounds great. And I really look forward to hearing that album.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to share a little bit of my experience, and you know how it works. Hopefully something we say helps somebody else, and we all get better together.
Absolutely. And where can people find your album?
Oh, anywhere. Spotify or Apple Music or any of that stuff.
What's the name of it?
It's called A Single Step, which was yes, that was an homage to the first step to of the 12.
Well done.
Yeah. That's the first song starts with something like every morning I wake up and pray for peace and serenity. So there's a recovery element to that first song anyway. There's also Cannabis Blues, which is a whole different recovery program. So we'll go there next time.
Well, Dan, it was a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you so much for joining us. And I'm glad that after your relapse, you were able to just get right back to recovery. Good on you for doing that. And there's no shame in a relapse, that's for sure. And thank you for sharing that message today.
Thank you so much.
And for Christina, I'm Brian. And if you want to be strong like Michael Phelps, then live by the expression that talking helps. Yeah. Bye.
Peace.